Hi, my face, your screen. Welcome, welcome. There's somebody there, I know there's somebody there. I think you're in Dubai. You look like you're there. Yes, welcome. Anyway, subscribe. You obviously have questions. I have questions. Because you obviously have questions. So let's delve into these questions. Hit the like and subscribe. And if you have anything you have questions about, please leave some comments and I can dive into those questions and we can try and find some answers. Okay, so today we are discussing the history of the ouija board. We all know what a ouija board is. In some places it's called glassy, South Africa for instance. We improvise, okay, we improvise, but I'll explain that later. But yes, let's dive into this rabbit hole and see what we can come up with. So, the history of the ouija board is it's very old, okay? Some say it's fake, some say it's real. Me, I tend to lean to the real side, okay? Because I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, burnt that t-shirt, okay? Don't, okay? So, the ouija board, what is a ouija board? Look at the picture, okay? A ouija board is a rectangular board which has the numbers A to Z, I want to say because I'm South African, but it's A to Z, okay? The numbers 0 to 9, yes, no, and it's got a goodbye, okay? And then it's got a planchette, the little thing that you move around. Well, you put your, you don't move it around. Everybody puts 2 fingers on it, you ask questions to whoever's out there, and it moves, okay? That is a ouija board. Okay. Now the name ouija, some say it's French, some say it's German. I know we in French is yes, so I would assume it's a yes board. I don't know, or yes no board. Who knows? But we means yes. But some people actually say, scientists say there's a thing called automatism. Don't know how you spell that. Where the subconscious, like if you had to ask a question, scientists always try to prove supernatural things wrong. Big up to you guys, you're clever and all that, but some things just don't make sense, okay, to people like me. But now automatism is this thing where in your mind, your subconscious knows things, okay? So if you're on the board and you're asking your mom, what was my favorite toy? And in your mind, your mom's dead, okay, and you're asking her. And in your mind, you know that your Barbie doll was your favorite toy, so it's said that automatically your finger's going to twitch towards the B and the A and the R to spell Barbie, because that's what your mind is saying. I think many people fake these things, like you get these fortune tellers and things, and I don't believe in that. I do believe there are some that are clairvoyant and can see, just like I believe there's prophets. I believe there's a lot of fake prophets too. But everybody can, these things do exist. But yes, that's what the scientists say. But then there's the dark side of it. Let's get into the dark side. So in the 1950s, that was when there was this big spiritual movement where people started doubting, is there a God? And those who didn't believe in God started thinking, is there a higher power of some sort? And that's where the ouija board came out, okay? The ouija board, some say it originated in the US, some say in France. I'm going to go with France, okay? Because in France, in those days, and I want you to look at this picture, they literally had life-size ouija boards where the planchette was so big that 10 people could stand around it and this thing would now move around. It was like a whole ritual, okay? So I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna say it was in France. Okay, till today, there's still life-size ouija boards. I don't know why. Blow that shit up. No. Stop speaking to the dead people. There's enough people alive who need conversation. I'm speaking to a camera. Really. So, stop speaking to the dead, speak to the live people, okay? Because you don't know who you're speaking to when you speak to the dead. So, 1850s, let's go on from there. So this American guy, Elijah, went to France, he was on vacation or whatever, and he came across this life-size ouija board, and he was fascinated with this. And obviously, the Americans always see a business opportunity somewhere. They're good at that. I love my Americans, okay? But so he thought, okay, let me go back. Goes back to the States, gets two buddies, Charles and Reich. Now, Reich was a coffin maker. This is important. He was a coffin maker because why a business person who's got nothing to do with with funerals would recruit a coffin maker into his partnership will be clear soon. So, Elijah tells these people about this Ouija board. Okay, and he says, okay, now here's the plan. We're going to make them smaller, okay? Because if they're smaller, we can sell a lot of them, okay? And what better place to market a Ouija board than at a funeral home, okay? Because now people go to the funeral home, they're burying someone. My grandma just died. I'm going to bury her. So I'm in the funeral home and I said, what are these things? It's a Ouija board. Well, what's it for? No, you can speak to dead people with it. So, if you don't have closure or whatever, yeah, you can speak to. Okay, yeah, I'll take two. Thanks. So that was a good marketing plan for this. Okay, whether they actually believed, Elijah Charles or Reich actually believed in this, in the power of the Ouija board is unknown, but they made a lot of money with it. Okay, so smaller size, more sales, marketing by the dead people. Okay, at first when the Ouija board came out, people believed they were speaking to God. Okay, then when it was the smaller one, they believed they were speaking to whoever. They could call up whoever they wanted to call up. So I want to call up my dead grandma, I speak to my grandma. I want to speak to God, I speak to God. Okay. Now in those times, in the 1850s, people, or in the 1800s, there were many fortune tellers and things that were scamming people and all that. So what better way than to get your own Ouija board and read your own fortune? Sort of, ask for people from the past, from the future, whoever, ask God what's happening and not get scammed. So you have your own communication device, like your own cell tower. Okay. So the thing was, they did not know who they were speaking to. Okay. These people had no idea who they were speaking to. It's scary. It is scary, and you'll see. I'm just going to tell two stories of people who lived by the Ouija board. They'll scare the pants off you. I'm telling you. So the first crazy woman I want to speak to, crazy woman and a crazy Ouija board, is Ella Crawford. This is in 1912. Okay, where none of us were born. I don't think anybody loves them was born there. But after her husband died, she got the board because she believed she was speaking to her husband. Okay, so every decision she made, she had a 10-year-old child as well. She had a daughter of 10. And obviously this was very traumatic for her. Her husband died, and in those days it wasn't, I don't know if there were life insurances and things, but so she spoke to the board on everything. What am I cooking tonight? Pasta. Okay. What am I doing now? She lived by the board. She asked the board everything. Then the one day, the board said to her that her and her 10-year-old daughter are going to fall into extreme poverty. Okay, and the only way she can avoid this is they have to die. She believed it. Okay, so she says goodbye on the board. Goes out, her 10-year-old daughter's taking a bath. She goes into the bathroom, drowns the daughter, takes the daughter to the room, dries her off, dresses her in funeral clothes and lays her out on the bed. Okay. Then this woman is so determined, okay, with this board. This is the effect this thing has. Instead of, nowadays you want to off yourself, you drink poles or something. Whatever, okay? Not so gruesome. She takes an axe to her head, to her own head. How? How do you even do that? How do you even? Anyway, she was very badly injured, but she didn't die. Okay, because I think there's something in your brain that tells you, don't do this. Okay, don't do that. So Like that, what's that word that there was that word, automatism. Now, automatism is the thing that tells you, the part of your brain that tells you, you can hit yourself with an axe, but don't, because it's going to hurt, and then you don't. So I said that the Ouija board opens that up, okay, and you can do what you want to do. You do things that you wouldn't normally do. So she hit herself with an axe. But now in 1912, okay, in those days, if you committed a gruesome act, okay, and in court, even if you killed 100 people, in court they could prove that you are mentally insane, there was no sentence for you. You didn't get sentenced. You didn't get punished. They gave you meds and sent you home because you're crazy. So any mental disorder, they just sent you home to go do it again. Gave you some pills. Scary, but yes, so she got some meds and she went home. I don't know if she ever, there's no follow-up story, I don't know if she ever did try the axe again, spoke to the Ouija board again, or what she did, but there was no consequences for her actions, which is scary. But yes, that's what effect the Ouija board had on her. So, scary, man. Now let me tell you another story. In 2001, okay, now we're in the 21st century, 2001, a 53-year-old grandma, Carol, from Oklahoma, she became obsessed with her Ouija board. Okay? And the Ouija board told her that she had to kill, that her brother-in-law and her granddaughter of 10 wanted to kill her. And the only way she could stop them is she had to kill them. Okay. Now, if you don't know this is evil, if a toy tells you to kill people, I mean, right, Chucky, what the flipping fudges is this? So, straight away, when the board tells her, her brother-in-law and her granddaughter are going to try to kill her, 10-year-old little girl, are going to try to kill her, she must go kill her. She says goodbye on the board, gets out, takes a knife from the kitchen, goes to her son-in-law's bedroom, stabs him dead, in bed. Okay? Then she goes, now she's going to go off her granddaughter. But her daughter sees this going down and she stops it. She manages to stop it. I don't know what was going on in these people's minds. I think they were all possessed. Okay? Because instead of the daughter picking up the phone and dialing 911, no. The three of them get in the car. The grandmother, the crazy Ouija board grandmother, the daughter, and the target, the 10-year-old little girl. They get in the car and they drive. Where are they going to drive to? I don't know. And the grandmother drives. Okay, she shouldn't even be walking, never mind driving. So she drives. So obviously she was in no condition to drive because she's mentally not there. So she veers off the road into a pole and crashes the car. Fortunately, nobody gets hurt, okay, except her. She breaks both her ankles. This old woman breaks both her ankles in the accident. The little girl, the daughter, they're fine. So now they all get out the car, and get this. What does this grandmother do? She's still so into this plan. She tries to push her 10-year-old granddaughter into oncoming traffic on her broken ankles, okay? Doesn't work, obviously. And then cars start stopping because there's now been this big accident. So Grandma, on her broken ankles, I don't know if you guys have had a broken ankle, I have, and you can't walk on it. She ran into the forest with 2 broken ankles. 2 broken ankles. That's not normal. That's not normal. Okay, there's something supernatural going down here. Okay, she ran into the forest. They found her. The daughter eventually now calls 911, which she should have done long ago because she's her her husband is dead in bed. Okay, so yeah, she should have called long ago. Anyway, 911 comes and they found Grandma hours later in the forest, stark naked, running around with 2 broken ankles. So, I think this is the ultimate case of demon possessed. Okay, if you don't know the Ouija board is bad by then, you'll never know. But yeah, this is 2001, so fortunately crazy people don't get medicines at home. So she got convicted and she got prison sentence. So, because she killed someone. So yeah, that's terrible. And this grandma she was a normal 53-year-old lady, okay? She had no history of mental health. She was healthy. She's no substance abuse. She didn't even drink alcohol, nothing. But this Ouija board did this, okay? Maybe some people are just more susceptible to this, and that's why it happens to them. Maybe some people are so up there that it can't affect them. I don't know, but let me tell you a story. Then in the 1920s and 30s, it was obviously World War, so there were many people dead from the war, and families wanted to speak to them, and this Ouija board really took off. In the 1920s and 30s, it really took off. So then the Charles and his cronies decide, oh, we need to patent this thing, so that nobody else can use it. Now, those days worked different with patenting. You had to go in front of the board, okay, the officials, and prove this thing works, and then you could patent it. Not like today where you go online, fill in an app, you patent it, and it's yours, and nobody else can sell it. That was different then. So anyway, they went in front of the officials, they proved, okay, cool, it works, you can patent it. So then they named it, it was the Kennard Novelty. Okay, that was the name. But then, 2 years later, the coffin maker died, right? He died. Then Charles left for some reason. Maybe he came to his senses and realized, hey, I'm making people kill themselves. And finally, Elijah, the one who brought it from France, he fell off the third-story building and died. Okay. That's, yeah. But before Elijah died, he managed to name the board the Ouija board. And until today, it is the Ouija board. So, after his death, the brand went to many places, because this is very questionable in today's world, where I have actually personally signed a petition to have it removed from toy stores. Okay. In 1966, Parker Brothers took the brand. 1968, General Mills took it over. 1985, Kennard took it over. 1987, Tonka took it, and in 1991, Hasbro took it over. Now, if you know anything about these names, you know these are all toy stores. These are people who supply toys to children. And till today, it's Hasbro. And you can go and to Toys R Us and buy a Ouija board for your child. The reason they say it was like that, because they thought it was a board game, okay? I thought it was a board game because it's a board. But they literally said there were cases of people killing people, trying to off themselves, with this board. It was not a toy. So today you can literally go online and, Fisher Price, you can order from them a Ouija board for your 8-year-old. It says 8 and up, actually, the ages. Now you can speak to grandma. That's questionable. That is questionable. People can't just see this. So, anyway, yes, so that's why it's still, because look, they had it, they then realized it wasn't a toy, and it had a whole lot darker meaning to it, but it was too late. It was too late, because they had thousands printed, they had thousands made, and they were in toy stores everywhere, so they just left it like that. And we are now in 2025, and you can still buy Ouija boards for children. If you want a Ouija board, you go to Toys R Us, or you go online and order it from Fisher Price. That's wrong. That is just wrong. So, yes, anyway. Scary. So like I said, the Ouija board is called the Ouija board, okay, the ones you buy. But now in Africa, if there are people who call it glassy, okay? Because instead of buying a Ouija board, now you don't have to have the actual Ouija board. You can take a piece of cardboard, write the letters A to Z, 0 to 9, yes, no, and goodbye on there, okay? And then instead of a planchette, you can take a glass, okay? And then people sit around, and I have done this, okay? I had some friends who, I have no idea what this was. Okay, they just, yeah, let's do this. We always do this with us, and I agreed. Okay, and they put the glass in place of the plant shed, and I thought it was a big joke. Okay, and this happened, and they were with me. You asked questions, and these people did not know me. They knew nothing about me. Okay, they knew absolutely. I had met them a few months back. Okay, we went clubbing a few times, and they did not know me. And every question I asked, there was a correct answer. And I was thinking, there was Google back then, okay? But I thought they were speaking to my family, they researched, and they know these things, okay? But the night turned very dark, where this was in my apartment, because they brought this to my apartment, and they left, and I had a really rough encounter that night, okay? And that was the night when I decided, Ouija boards, they're real. Glassy glass, this is real, okay? And I'm not shitting you. This is real. I don't mess with those things. Don't mess with those things. And please don't buy your children those things. No. Why would you want to tempt something if you don't know if it's real? Rather don't. If you don't know if that knife is sharp enough to cut your throat, don't try. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, there are bad things out there, and why would you want to open a door to do this? I know there's a lot of urban legends, like the Bloody Mary thing and all of that, and I personally don't really believe in that. I got no issue. I don't know who Bloody Mary is, okay? But that doesn't mean I'm going to go stand in front of a mirror and call her, okay? Just because I'm not going to, okay? Because I don't know what someone else experienced. So, because I'm very in touch with my spiritual side, I kind of stay away from things like that, because there is another dimension. There are more dimensions than the one we live in, okay, which is a whole other conspiracy theory, okay, and one day I'll do a deep dive on that. But that is basically the story of where the Ouija board originated from, and it's still very popular, and many people use it. I know in Africa, many people use it. I know in the US, many people use it. And people go so far as to make their own if they can't find one to buy, if they're in a remote area or something, because people are so desperate to speak to the dark, to the dead. But you don't know who you're speaking to, okay? You don't know. Listen to me. You cannot, when people are alive, speak to them, okay? Simplify life. If you miss someone, call them. If you love someone, tell them. If you're angry with someone, make it known. If you're happy, make it known, okay? Do it now. Do it while they're alive. Don't wait till they're dead and then try to speak to them, because you can't, okay? You cannot go speak to dead people, no. And if you do, hey, you're going to a place where you don't belong, okay? There's a reason there's different dimensions. You are in this one. Stay in this one, okay? When you die, you'll go to that one. Okay, then maybe you can go chat with them if you go to the same place. I'm a Christian. I believe in heaven, Jesus, all these good things. Okay, I believe I'm going to the good place because I have a good heart. I know I have good intentions. Things don't always turn out the way I intend for them, but I know my intentions are good, and so does God. But don't mess with things you know nothing about. Okay, and don't fool yourself by thinking you know everything about it. As much as you can research, you never know enough. So stay away from Ouija boards, guys. Please stay away from it. Anyway, I have lots of questions. I'm sure you have questions with all these things, this Ouija board things, because there are many stories of many people who did horrendous things at the instruction of the Ouija board. Things that they would never have done in their own mind, their own heart. They'd be good people with the board would tell them to do something horrible, and they would do it. Okay? And I believe that. You get a very good person who suddenly one day just decides to do something really bad. There's an error. Okay, I have questions. So yes. Anyway, if you stayed till the end of the video, thank you for coming, and feel free to like and subscribe. Okay, so that you can see what I post again, because I'll be posting lots of things I think about. Okay, I have lots of time to think, so I think about a lot of things, and I like to share them. So yes. Anyway, have a good day. Cheers.